Hey guys, Low Red here. Part 4 of The Tough Life Traveled. I literally sat here for 45 minutes just thinking. And like I said, this is really hard for me. Even though I want my story out there, it's hard to explain. Because I know there's certain people out there that want to hide the horrible things that they did, or have always left me alone because I kept my silence. And the reason I'm doing this is because I figured I already have big death threats against me right now, so I might as well do it. But it doesn't make it any easier. At least on part 3, it ended with me smiling and laughing with my oldest child. And I love the story that we're on right now with the haunted house. And it was called Nightmare on Blake Street too, and it was at a mall in Colorado. And it was one of the few times I really enjoyed doing that job, because you got to be an actor and you got to scare people, which was funny at times. I even scared my brother, and it was like the one time in my entire life I had him in fear. But it's been an emotional and very tiring and scary week and a half. For those of you who know me now and visit with me, well, not going to visit with me because I'm not allowed to have anybody over, but I had to make choices that I really didn't want to have to make for the safety of everybody in my life. Because I would rather lose my life than anybody I love. And it's hard to always keep it bottled. Always wear a smile on my face. My oldest is the only one who knows that I'm screaming inside. Ugh. I'm sorry. Okay. So, haunted house. So I just met Steve, and he called me the next day, and we started dating. And we weren't allowed to work the same room, which is understandable. They don't want us just sitting there making out. I'm like, teenagers, you know. I had a pretty cool boss, though, there. um, but at that time, The Bride of Chucky was just hitting theaters for Halloween. And, of course, me and Steve were not old enough to go in and see it. But he wanted to take me to see it anyway, because he knew I was into horror. Working at a haunted house, pretty much everybody in there was into horror, except you got really sick and tired of the Halloween song, the Halloween theme song, from the Michael Myers, and now that my kids are getting into horror because they're at that age, and my daughter talks about Friday the 13th all the time, which is fine, Friday the 13th. But yeah, I'm so annoyed that she's starting to talk more about Michael Myers and Halloween. In fact, that's what she wants to be for Halloween. Just like, please don't play the theme song around me. I can't take it anymore. But anyway, so one night after work, Steve asked me to go to the movies with him and see Bride of Chucky. Well, I was trying to get a hold of my mom just to see if I could go to the movies. And I couldn't get a hold of her. So, and they hadn't picked me up yet. I was still standing outside. So I said, okay, let's go. Of course I want to go to the movies. Well, we went to the movie theater, and a friend of ours was old enough to get in, so, and I'm standing there, still full makeup, white, black lines, blood. Everybody just thought I was dressed themed for the movie. So, because it was opening night, and so everybody just thought I was like, really into Chucky. But, so his friend bought a ticket, and we stood at the side doors. And he let us in when he walked in. So we went to the movie, and it was so bad. So we weren't really watching much of the movie, because it just was horrible. No offense to you, Chucky, but that is not one of your good ones. So, the room that Steve had worked, he didn't have any makeup on or anything, so we come out of the movie, and all right here, my makeup was gone, and all right there on Steve was my makeup from working. And our friends were laughing at us and giving us crap, and we just laughed it off, because that's how me and him have always been. We laugh at everything. But he takes me home, and oh my gosh, I was in so much trouble. But it wouldn't be the first time I got in massive trouble for hanging out with Steve. Because it was just because I didn't tell my parents, which is understandable now, being a parent myself. When my son poofs, I get concerned, especially with the world today. It's 10 times more scary. But I didn't understand back then about the evils of the world, because, like I said, I was very sheltered. And my parents worked all the time, so I took the DARE class. I knew somewhat of what drugs were, but I really didn't know. It didn't make sense the way that they talked about it. And I didn't know that there was people out there that abducted children. I didn't know about the stranger danger. The only thing I really knew about was make sure you wear your helmet when you ride your bike and look both ways before you cross the street. That's about it. So I was shy, but I always wanted to talk to people and make new friends and try to have a social life. Try to get out of the house more, because I felt like I was always trapped there. I told my son I wasn't going to remember the story that he wanted me to tell. But that's okay. I think it was along the lines of my glasses getting broken, because I did wear glasses at the time, and I think this is it. I had one of those little 26-inch box TVs and in my room, and I started taking it into the bathroom with me when I would take a bath, so I could watch TV while I was in the bathtub. Well, my mom loved that, and so she started taking my TV when she was in the bathtub. One night she took it, and she was bringing it back and putting it back on my dresser and stuck it down right on my glasses. And I was like, hey, Mom, why don't we save money and let me get contacts? And she said, okay. So then I got contacts, and it helped my self-esteem a lot. The braces still bothered me, because I had braces at the time too, but at least I didn't have glasses and braces at the same time. It's like a double whammy to your social life. Anyway, so this another thing I remember from the house in Aurora, Colorado, was I told you about my trampoline. Well, behind my brother's window was the awning roof for the patio, and we would always go onto the roof and with our friends or by ourselves, and that's where we would sneak our cigarettes, and that in the corner of the yard. Well, one day my parents weren't supposed to be home for a while, and so me and my brother and a couple of his friends and stuff were on the roof, and I dropped my cigarette and it had rolled off the roof. So the quickest way down, instead of climbing back in the window and going downstairs and then out the back door, was to jump off the roof onto the trampoline. And we did it once in a while, but it wasn't something like we did all the time. But I jump off the roof onto the trampoline, and my dad's standing in the kitchen doing the dishes. We didn't even know they'd come home. And he starts yelling at me for jumping off the roof. And I didn't even know where my cigarette had gone by then. I didn't care, because if I went for it or tried to find it, I knew that I'd get in trouble for smoking, because my parents didn't know that me and my brother smoked. Well, at the same time as my dad's yelling at me, my mom's sticking her head out my brother's window and catching him smoking with his friends. And I expected that, usually when a sibling gets caught, they go, well, they did it too. So one of the few times my brother did lied for me and said, no, I wasn't. Which I appreciate him doing that at the time, but it didn't change much. I still got caught later on. But I was able to hide smoking from my parents for, I don't know, 3-4 years before they found out. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember the story now. Oh my God, what am I telling you? Okay, so my brother had this girlfriend, and he wanted to go and see her one night, and it was before we had the trampoline. And my brother would do this often. He would sneak out and go see her in the middle of the night. Well, I wanted to be rebellious with my brother, so I asked him to let me go with him one time. So after my parents had gone to bed, I snuck into my brother's room and we snuck out the window. And he's telling me to jump off the roof. And I'm going, what now? Well, so I jump and I land on the heel of my foot into my crotch. And then we had to ride our bikes, which, ow, that hurts. But we got on our bikes and we rode over to his girlfriend's house, and I didn't know I was just going to be sitting there watching them make out. I was like, I'm bored. So I started complaining, and I told him I wanted to go home. And he kept telling me, we have to wait till a certain time because we'll get caught. And I was like, no, I want to go home. I can't, I'm bored, and I can't do this. I want to go home. So finally he gives in, and I should have listened to him. But like I said, I didn't know what he meant by we'll get caught. What, get caught by mom and dad? And he kept trying to explain that the cops would get us in trouble, or we'd get caught by the cops. And I'm going, well, why is that a problem? I didn't understand what curfew meant. But, so we're riding back, and we're getting close to this park that was kind of close to our house. And there's all these motorcycles doing like tricks over by the park. And so me and my brother hid behind the trash can, and I was terrified. I'm thinking this is some group of people who's going to hurt us, because I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know stranger danger. It just seemed intimidating. Because there was like 4 or 5 of them. And I started crying. And my brother's like, shh, 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 they're going to hear us. Shh, shut up. Well, we waited and waited for them to leave, but they didn't leave. And finally one of them heard, I guess maybe me, and shine a flashlight at us. It was the police. Like 4 or 5 motorcycle police officers. And then they like searched heavily behind the trash can. They thought we were back there doing drugs or something. And they called my parents, and my mom's like, no, they're in their beds. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, they followed us home on our bikes. And my mom was standing out front in her robe. Yeah. It was about 1 in the morning. I never snuck out again. Nope. Not in the middle of the night. I didn't. And I still don't sneak out today, which is odd. I'm a grown adult. If I want to sneak out, I can sneak out. But where would I go? There's nothing around here within close proximity, and except for the gas station. And all my friends, well, I don't know if you could call them friends, are up in town, which is a 15-minute drive. And my ex has my bike, so which is sad because I've given him back all of his stuff, but he hasn't given me anything except my diploma back. Okay, so that was the story I think he wanted me to tell you about. Let's see. I really liked that house, but it was also the only place and the only time I experienced a hard impact car accident. I wasn't driving. My dad had come to pick me up from my friend's house, and there's only one stoplight between our house and my friend's house at the time. And my dad was looking down, coming up on this light, and it was red. And I should have just kept my mouth shut. We probably would have gone all the way through without an issue. But I was like, Dad, what are you doing? And my dad slammed on his brakes. And we were in a minivan, and we were hitting the back side of the van, and we did a 180, and the hatch flew open, and all of our belongings that were in the back went flying out of our van. Nobody was hurt, not even the guy who hit us. But it helped me become a better driver. I never wanted to experience that again. Just because I thought my daddy was going to go to jail. Because like I said, I didn't know nothing. The cops showed up. I'm thinking my daddy's going to jail. I didn't know laws. Like I said, I didn't know anything except just the standard stuff you learn in school. So, and I had to go over to the little convenience store on the corner and use the payphone, and I had to call collect to my mom, and she kept hanging up on me thinking it was my Grandpa Kelly. Finally she answered, and they showed up, and my mom had my brother take me home, and then he went back. I went and got in the bathtub and just sobbed because I didn't think my daddy was going to be coming home. It's the only real bad car crash too that my dad's ever been in. My dad's a very good driver, actually. Okay, so I used to I was back in the time when Walkmans were still around, and I used to carry a Walkman, and I'd listen to the Top Gun soundtrack or the Bangles on tape with headphones, and it was always the ones that went over your ears. And I'd walk to and from school. And I mean, it was a pretty far walk too. But I liked the walk. Um, but as I got into my um, freshman or sophomore, my freshman or sophomore year in high school, um, the walk became scary for me anymore because I would get bullied, harassed, by a few different people, but one of them actually used to be a friend of mine, and he have all of his buddies sit there and park along my walk and harass me in it. And there was nothing anybody could do about it because it was no longer on school property. They weren't doing me any physical harm. But it it didn't help my self-esteem at all. And I already had a low self-esteem. And I still have a hard time with my self-esteem. And I never thought I'd be good enough for any of the good guys in the world. But I did get a boyfriend, and he called me and asked me to come over one day. And it was actually on my birthday. And my party wasn't till that weekend, so I was like, okay. And I rode my bike all the way over to his house, which wasn't close. And he broke up with me on my birthday. And I was riding my bike back. And this was before Steve. I was riding my bike back, and my brother saw me, and I was in tears. And he pulled over on the side of the road and asked me what was wrong, and I told him, and he was with his girlfriend at the time, and so he had me ride my bike home, and they met me at the house, and they took me to see the X-Files in a city that was like 2 or 3 hours away. Another thing that we did a lot of at that house was we would ride our bikes to the movie theater, me and my brother. And, or by ourselves or with a friend. I was always on my bike. Loved my bike at that time because it kept me in shape. I didn't have to walk. So we'd either ride our bikes to the movie theater or we'd ride our bikes to Skate City. I don't know if you guys know what that was. It was a roller skate rink. Like, think of the movie Trolls. But it was always busy. And I'm surprised that they went under. It was so much fun. Or we'd ride our bikes down to the reservoir and go swimming. I took horseback riding lessons at that reservoir, which I loved. Uh, trying to think. And once my brother got his license, we would go play laser tag. Well, at that time, my brother got really into ICP, Insane Clown Posse, and he had the ugliest, like, station wagon car, and he took me over to a friend of his house to pick her up, and we were gonna go play laser tag because we were really good at it. And so while we're sitting there waiting for her dad was watching The Exorcist. And in the dark. And that was, like, then we get back into his station wagon. I'm in the back, where it's pitch black, dark in the back of the station wagon. And my brother's blaring Boogeyman from ICP. And then we went and played laser tag in the dark. No, that face scared me for years, but I still wanted to see it, and it doesn't bother me at all now. But another thing I shouldn't have done is snuck watch Arachnophobia when my brother was watching it when I was like 6 or 7, back in Inglewood. Yeah, hiding behind the couch when I was watching it. So that grew my fear of spiders. And then I watched it at a friend of mine's house. And that made my fear of clowns. I don't really want to see the new one. My daughter does. I don't. But, haha, she can't. Because my mom won't let her. Because it's R. Then I also saw Interview with the Vampire at a friend's house. And I fell in love with that movie. And I started watching it at home because I found out. I borrowed it from her or something. I can't remember how I got the VHS, but anytime my parents would leave, I'd watch it, or I'd watch Interview with the Vampire, or movies I wasn't supposed to watch that my mom wanted. And she came home and caught me watching Interview with the Vampire, and I'm surprised I didn't get in as much trouble as I thought I would get in. But I asked if I could read the book, and she approved it. And I've read all of them up to I was on the Vampire Armand when that book disappeared on me, and I never picked it back up. But I fell in love with Claudia's character. And that became my nickname in high school. Okay, hold on, guys. Sorry, house phone is ringing. Sorry about that, guys. But I'm trying to remember a series of events and everything because I want to make sure I get it right. But when during the time I was dating uh, Steve, my parents had sold their house, the house that we were in, because they couldn't afford to pay the mortgage and tithing, because they are very, well, they still are very into the Mormon religion. um, now, so we moved in to my grandmother's house, my mom's mom. And I actually didn't mind living there too bad. I had a room with my own bathroom. I had a house phone in my room. I think it had its own phone number. And it felt more, I felt more free there, I guess. And that made me also have to change schools. And I started going to a Chaparral High School, and which had the same letters as Columbine. So like when that happened, everybody was calling my mom. My mom was like, "No, different school, different school, different school. She's fine. Different school, different school." But I was in. The thing I didn't like about that school is we shared the school with the middle school. Like, we were upstairs and they were downstairs. And but what I did like about it was I was the drama teacher's assistant for one class, and I got to be in Bye Bye Birdie. I only in the course, but the poodle skirt, and I had it signed by the whole cast. That's gone. I'll explain why that's gone later. I helped make the set, and I helped tear it down. Oh, hold on. That's my youngest. Wednesdays out here are half days, and he wanted to go to a friend's house, so he calls to see if it's okay and check in. He's a good kid. So I said, yeah. Plus it makes it to where I don't have to worry about him coming in all loud with me doing this right now. So, my grandma's house. Living there is where I got my first period, and that was embarrassing. My mom's talking to some lady I didn't even know, and I'm sitting there trying to ask my mom if there's any pads in the house, and she kept going, what? And then she's like, "Oh, your periods are," I mean, like, really loud, right in front of this lady, and I'm like, "Thanks, Mom, thanks." And then it's also in the time when I was dating Steve, and he took my virginity. It was at his house, on his waterbed. And it made me fall in love for the first time. And he knows that. Um, one of the funny stories was we, I was at his house and we were gonna do, have sex, and he was out of condoms. So I'm sitting there butt naked on his waterbed playing Spyro, the original Spyro. And while he ran to the gas station to get some, and he comes back and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I just ran into my parents at the gas station." I was like, "Uh-oh." I was like, "Were you able to get them?" And he was like, "Yeah. That's why it took me so long." He's like, "Because I had to wait till they left." Uh, yeah. Things you do in high school. But, Steve was just a year older than me. And we started to, I started to call him every day because it was living at your grandmother's house really sucks sometimes because where she lived out in the middle of no man's land and very secluded. So, like, even if you had friends, you didn't see them. It's too far to go unless you had a car and a license. But I was 15. I didn't have those. So, and then, I remember putting, at that time I had a CD player, portable CD player, and I would listen to, like, Shania Twain. Whose boots have you been? Or whose bed have your boots been under? Like, every day when I'd walk to the bus stop. And I'd listen to it, listen to different music all the way to school, all the way home. I didn't really have friends at Chaparral. But 6 months into me and Steve's relationship, he called me and broke up with me. I think he explained it that he got scared because I'd become, because I was in love with him and I was very clingy because that was like the first time I'd been in, like, love. And I cried, but not like I thought I would. Something just kept telling me, you guys will get back together. So I called radio station and put in a request for him and just emailed him once in a while and tried to give him his space in hopes that he'd come back. Well, it kind of worked. But we never started dating again. We just started hanging out and became friends and friends with benefits and back then. And I think we did it more when we were broke up than when we were together. Like, I think we only did it twice when we were together. And then, like, 4 or 5 times, like, a month after we broke up. But, I mean, like, throughout my entire life. That's not the only time, the amount of times that, yeah, anyway. And so me and Steve have stayed friends till even today. We're still friends. He's my best friend. I can tell him anything. I can, whenever I need a shoulder to cry on, he listens. And we've never had an opportunity or chance to ever get back together, and we've accepted the fact that that's never going to happen, because every time I'm single, he's in a relationship, and every time he's single, I'm in a relationship. So we just stay friends. Whenever we need someone to talk to, he's there for me, and I'm there for him. And he knows everything that's gone on in my life. And this is where it starts to get rough. Being 15 was the hardest year of my life after I lost Steve. Because we started dating in October, and we broke up in like February, March, April, sometime around there. And I guess even though I didn't cry as much as I thought I would, I became a mess, I guess. Started to not care what choices I made, and caused a series of events that definitely changed my life forever, because just 2 years later I ended up having a son. So that'll be in the next part. I'm going to make a video that's going to be kind of like a extra info through the chapters, because the family trips and stuff like that I haven't really included, so I'm going to do that, but not for a while, because I'm getting into the hardest parts of my story, and so this is going to be, it's going to just be hard videos for the next couple of videos. It's going to be a lot of crying, so forewarning on that. And thank you guys for watching and listening, and I'll have some music playing in the background for the next one. I forgot to do that today on this one, but I appreciate it, even though nobody's watched any of the other ones yet. I don't care. It helps, I guess. So, thanks you guys. Bye.